So earlier this year, Arcane released their brand new co-op shooter Redfall, also known by many as Redfall, because it was a buggy mess. But it's been patched now and supposedly it's fixed. So I wanted to go hands-on myself and find out once and for all, should you buy Redfall? Now, I probably should state first and foremost that I'm not a huge Arcane fan. I actually scrapped that. I'm not even a fan in the slightest. I've played bits of most of their games. Dishonored, Prey. I even bought Deathloop at launch. Did not jive with me. Their style personally, it's just not really for me. So with that in mind, surely I'm going to hit Redfall, right? Well, it's not that simple. So I was originally excited for Redfall when I first seen all the trailers on the Xbox showcases and things. I do like the Division style of games. Just something like a looter shooter that you can just kind of turn your mind off and play. So I was excited for Redfall, had high hopes for it, and I did play it originally. And I was one of the guys with the pitchforks. I was not accepting the quality of the game. I was not happy with it. But if you do watch the channel, you should know Bobby, who also does videos here at Ready Up. Well, he actually really enjoys the game and wouldn't accept that it was anything else than Game of the Year material. And let's just say, me and Bobby did not see eye to eye on this many times. So that was back in what, May? It's now a few months on. We've got the 2.0 patch, which promises 60 FPS on consoles. The fact that it was ever 30 FPS to me personally is bonkers to release it on a console at that frame rate in this day and age. It doesn't fly well. And I don't know why they didn't just release it at around Halloween. It seems like a perfect Halloween game. My wild guess would be they wanted to have a bit of space between Forza and Redfall, or they just need a kind of like a big Game Pass release around the May time. Now, everyone remembers, and it's a favourite quote of mine, what Miyamoto of Nintendo said: if your game's a piece of shit, maybe wait a bit, mate. Credit where credit's due, so fair play to Arcane and Xbox, because they did come out after the release and they said they were committed to getting the game in their working state. So the question now is did they actually do that? Well, when I first played the game, which was back in May, the AI was already, right from the start, was woeful. So there's a scene at the very start where you run into a vampire, your first one, and it's supposed to be somewhat memorable, knowing what I know now, but it was very glitchy. The AI was completely falling apart. He would spawn, and then he disappeared, and then he wouldn't attack me. Whereas now, there's a scene, and it's quite suspenseful, where you can see the shadow of the vampire, and he's clearly stuck in someone's blood. I hope he's stuck in someone's blood. And you just see the shadow, and it just sets up the wee scene nicely. Then you go in and you fight him. But there was no bugs, so the difference already was night and day. So I was pretty optimistic with the patch right out of the gate. So first things first, let's talk performance. Well, back when I first played it, I played it on PC. Performance there was pretty shocking. I actually had I do still have a 3070 Ti, and I had frame rate issues. Even at lower resolutions, the frame rate was choppy. It needed a lot of work. So I'm happy to say it now works great, at least for me. I've tried it on PC. Performance there was fantastic. And if you do have a Xbox Series X or S, I've tried it on the X. I played mainly there this time around, and the 60 FPS it's pretty flawless. It's great. The fact that it was ever, like I said, 30 FPS is insane, so it's good that it's there. The good news is, so the game, performance-wise, perfectly playable, and is kind of where it should have been from the very start. But it doesn't mean anything. It's still not a perfect game. So I want to talk about what kind of I do like about it and what I don't like. I don't want this to be a blatant review because the game's been out a long time. You've either played the game or you've heard so many people talk about it. But if you haven't, just to kind of give you a recap. So the kind of story / concept of Redfall. So in Redfall, you're in a town that's been invaded by vampires. If you like things that go bump in the night and not necessarily your parents' bed, then the game might be right up your alley. But essentially, you're just finding out where did the vampires come from, what's happened to this small town. And throughout the game, things unveil themselves and you find out a bit more about why are things the way they are, and you get a bit more of an idea about certain villains, but not going to stop spoiler territory. If you want to play the game for the story, you can do, it's there. And Arcane, as typical Arcane fashion, they do nail that environmental storytelling. They've decided to go though with some cheap feeling still image format for their cutscenes. It's actually really jarring, it's just not engaging enough. I don't understand kind of what their reasoning was for doing it that way. It just feels like they don't have enough time to actually spend to finish up the game and finish up on the cutscenes properly. Clearly, by the way, that was evident if you did play the game based on the shit show and how it launched at launch. But it was pretty obvious, even during my playthrough, that the game still does need more time in the oven. Overall though, the story still surprised me. I actually did enjoy the story and getting sucked into the story through that environmental storytelling, which, like I said, Arcane does typically nail. There's lots to read around the town, so if you're the type of person that does like to kind of go in and read little notes throughout the town, that's all here. To me, it's just they dropped the ball with the cutscene delivery. But overall though, like with games, a lot of these types of games especially, like the Divisions and things like that, I'm really there for the gameplay rather than the story. Good news, if you are here for story, it's here, and it actually is pretty good. But I'm just happy going around, fucking those vampires up and shoving stakes through their hearts, so I was happy enough without the story, to be fair. And to touch on the vampires, I love the wee horror element that has going on just with the vampires around the town. I feel like that's one thing they did nail, the small American sleepy town vibe. Overall, even the art style of the environments, it just really pulled you in. The only thing I fucking despise though is how the NPC characters look. And I do get it because this is typical Arcane in their games. They make their main characters look normal and great, but the NPCs just look fucking clueless. And maybe it is that I just have PTSD from their other games like Dishonored, but the character design is just too reminiscent of those and it really puts me off. But I would have liked to see more care in the NPCs and how they look, rather than having them look like a telltale Walking Dead character. They look like they're pulled straight from that. But credit where credit is due, the one thing they nail in the game is the turn of Redfall itself. It's fantastic, so I have to give them props for that. That is something that I personally think they have hit it out of the park. So with the gameplay loop being an open world co-op game, structure wise, it's your typical, but you're selecting missions in the firehouse. It's the main base of operations, as you will. From there, you basically choose a main mission from a select few. There's not much, but you set out in the world and obviously continue your missions. So, you know, with that, the thing that I felt you got from doing it that way, there's a good pace, and it didn't ever feel like it gets dragged down or feels dull. The world setting in the main missions overall, even though they're set in the town, the areas are actually quite unique, and the biomes, as almost I would call them, they're visually appealing. It doesn't feel very samey, and then obviously you've got the time of day things pulled in there as well, just keeping things fresh. And the good thing is, look, the missions are quick enough that they feel like you're constantly moving forward through the story. And even though I didn't read everything or dive in too deep, the minor story you get through the gameplay still got my attention. It was good, like I said earlier, but I feel what lets the missions down is the AI in the enemies. It is not good enough. But sometimes they just walk around or they aren't aggressive enough. You can tell that it's kind of bare bones AI, and especially being a co-op game, you want to challenge on different difficulties with your mates. But if the AI is broke, then that's affecting the entire game and the co-op structure. So imagine if Diablo had broken AI. It is actually enough to ruin the entire game. These are the fundamentals that, in my opinion, Redfall is nailing, and that affects the game massively, especially if you're playing this for co-op. I didn't get to play co-op. I did try searching, but I think there's just not enough people playing. Clearly the time for the game is most likely past, unless they do like a full shake-up and a relaunch, which I don't see happening. But it's sad because the game, it isn't actually bad at all. I think this would have been great as like a Division-esque like game, just with full online connectivity rather than just a co-op shooter. But even searching for a game is very weird. You have to search from the main menu, and then if you're the host, you carry the progress for the save. Everyone else loses there. So it almost affects you wanting to play co-op with other people if you're going to lose your progress. Whereas what I think they could have done, which would have been good, is even from your mission from the firehouse, for certain missions, having a matchmaking specific to that mission, and then having people help you out. But like I said, there's no one even playing it, so too little too late, I guess. It seems that it would be perfect for online play, but even playing it solo, it's still fun, but it definitely feels like it was built with online as a focus, especially when it comes to having abilities in the game for your characters. And when it comes to the characters, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 playable protagonists. I played as a guy called Jacob. He has like a certain ability, such as like the raven that you can chuck. You don't throw the raven, by the way, but you have a raven that can fly off in a direction. And what he'll do is he'll basically let you see enemies in the area, and then you can go invisible, or you can like get a sniper rifle to shoot vampires in the head. That is like your ultimate. But the abilities are okay. I would have liked to see more abilities, fleshing it out a bit more. Wants to change up the gameplay quite a bit, but I haven't tried the other characters, so I don't know if that's the case. But the overall gameplay and the shooting, it's decent enough. I like the kind of the sound that you got from the game and the feedback from the controller. But if you're playing it for how it is as a shooter, it's okay, it does the job, but there are better options out there, and that's kind of what I'm going to get into. Because overall, look, I feel like if you enjoy the gameplay, looter shooter off, say, Borderlands, and you're a fan of Arcane, then it's right up your alley. This game is perfect and you'll enjoy it. I definitely think that if the game was given more time, it could have been great, but I'd say the game is just okay at the moment. It does have moments where it shows potential, But overall, I think there's not enough quality here that outshines the bad stuff. Feels like a game that's perfect for Game Pass, and I'd only pick it up there if you're bored and you want something to play, or you have a group of friends to actually play with. If you're wanting to do it on solo, I would just wait for a deep sale. But who knows what the future holds. Maybe in the future they'll do a full revamp and the game will reach the potential that personally I think it has. But yeah, get your cutscenes fixed first and foremost. And look, if anyone has played this and they're like Bobby and consider this a Game of the Year contender, let me know in the comments below. But thanks for listening to the video, and look, like and subscribe, it helps the channel, and check out our other videos.